Hello everyone, let's fix some sheet film holders. What I'm going to show you today, it will apply to every sheet film holder you could put for any format. But oh, look at this photo. That would have been a good one if it hadn't been for that. This second one, actually, you know what, it never would have been a good photo, but that light leak at the bottom really ruins it. This third one's a bit heartbreaking because I think I would have kind of liked that image. But again, you can see the light leak there. Why do we know that? What is going on with this light leak? This light leak, as you can see from this overlay here, indicates an issue with the felt in your sheet film holder. With all imaging, whether it's on film or digital, your lens will invert and reflect your image when it's projected onto the film. So you can see here the final image versus what that image would have been projected as in positive, but roll with it, on the film in the 8x10 camera. That's an 8x10 image. Anyway, so when you have streaks on the bottom of your image, like this one exhibits in the final image, we know that's coming in through the top of the film holder from the space between the slats where the dark slide goes, which indicates that the felt that protects the film from light is in need of replacement. So this video is going to show you how to do that. We're going to start here with an old film holder. This is 5x7, but like I said, this process will work for all of them. If you've never done this before, but you have like a newer film holder to do, I'll show you that later in the video. But you really want to practice with an old film holder like this, because you can unscrew or take the nails out of this plate at the top and access what I'm going to call the springy comb and felt that you need to work on the repair for. I'm taking this one apart first because I want to show you a particularly janky repair that someone did that I don't recommend. The reason that this repair was done in this way is because the springy comb is gone. It is just not in this film holder. So at some point someone did this repair. The comb probably broke and fell out and they couldn't fix it, so they just jammed it full of felt. This is not a good way to do this repair. The springy comb is an important part of the system here because it springs the felt outward when the dark slide's removed, and that creates a light-proof seal, if the felt is good, to protect your film. So sometimes a repair like this can be done really easy. If the felt is in good condition, the spring has just developed a memory, just pry it out a little bit, and then it will again pop into that indent in the front plate, and then it will create the light-proof seal. This one desperately needs to have the felt replaced. So similar construction, metal plate, you can unscrew it. Like I said, this is what you want to learn how to do this repair with. That is what the underside of a plate should look like, with that cavity, that divot, whatever you want to call it, free of felt. That indentation there, that long indentation, is an important part of the light-proofing system. So here's the dark slide. We're going to remove it, and now you can see some very worn, very old felt. And then I took the felt off in a single piece. I held it onto the back of my new material, which is called ultrasuede. You can also use commando cloth. Something that is light-proof and black and thin will work well. I'm going to show you how to test that here in just a second. What you want to do is you want to cut it to the proper width, and then you want to take the felt that you have and use that as a template to cut the shape. Okay, so with that felt, what I did was I laid it flat on the white paper side of the material I was using, and then just used a pencil to trace it out. Now let me show you how bad a condition the old felt was in. Yeah, like that wasn't protecting anything from light. Look, that's just a studio light. It's not even the sun. So that's in terrible condition. It's probably original to the camera. And you can see where it's been worn down by the dark slide moving in and out. It's developed holes from friction of the dark slide constantly being used. Here's the new material. And I think you're going to notice a bit of a difference in the light proofness. And this might explain why it is that after I finished this repair on these film holders, I didn't have any more light leaks. There you go. Look at that. That is That is markedly different. Let me show you how to do this repair really well. This would be like the gold standard way to do this repair. This is a Lisco Regal. It's a newer film holder. I'm using a razor here to separate the top part of the film holder at the seams where it's either been glued or welded, okay? You need a sharp razor for this. Do not drag the razor across the seams. Press the razor into the seams, wiggle it just a little bit. If you drag it, that's a really good way for it to catch on the seams for a second and then release quickly and for you to lose a fingertip right off the tip of your thumb. I did not. I did cut myself fairly nicely doing one of these repairs. So what you do is you take a sharp razor. A dull razor will increase your risk of being cut, and then you just press it into the seams. And as you do this, the razor will go down into the seams a little bit further each time, and you'll be able to separate this. When you put this type of film holder back together, you're going to have to glue it with something like a crazy glue or clear Gorilla Glue because Plyo-Bond is not strong enough to do the job. And that's going to mean that this repair really is pretty much a one-shot. So I don't recommend starting with this style of film holder for this repair because if you do it wrong, you don't get a second chance. So skip forward to where I got the part off, and here you can see this is what the comb is supposed to look like. It's supposed to come out as a whole piece that is wrapped in felt. And here you can see that felt, not in good shape. That comb, not in good shape, but whatever, we're going to go with it. I don't have a replacement part. So the way that the comb works, you can see that it spreads out. I'm not going to push it back in there because I think it would be impossible to get out, but you can see it spreads out, and then that spreading creates the light tight seal when the dark slide goes through the top like that, right? It's the same thing we saw with the one that we could take apart with the springy comb going into the indentation. So the dark slide pushes that comb backward as it's sliding in, and as it's coming out, the comb springs forward, and that felt creates the light tight seal. Well, here's that felt, and you can just look at this and see how worn that is. The dust from the comb was on the inside, and you can see through the felt to see the dust on the inside. That is not anywhere close to light tight. So the way that you're going to take this repair is you're going to take that single piece of felt, and you're going to grab a piece of your light tight material, your ultrasuede, black ultrasuede, or your commando cloth, or whatever it is you're using that's 1 to maybe 2 millimeters thick. That you can see has some perforations on the right side of the screen. Don't use the perforated part of the material because you'll just create a whole bunch of light leaks. So skip that and set it where there's no perforations. You're going to then set the felt directly on your material and use it as a template. That's simple. If you use your existing felt as a template and you cut your replacement felt just a hair larger, then you can trim it down once it's on the combs, fit it in, and have a nice piece that really replaces the OEM part quite nicely. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to fit it up, and I'm going to know what size I need. And as you can see, the edge there does not reach those perforations. It's actually like it was designed to go right there. That's pretty much perfect. So I'm just going to know where I have to go. I'm going to put a couple of notches into the felt rather than trying to cut it with the old felt on it because I don't want to damage that felt in case I need to verify my template. I'm going to notch it, and then I'm just going to, in this case, I think, yeah, what I did was I notched each side. I grabbed, well, initially this, I think I probably should have used the dark slide or a ruler, the proper tools, and then just grab a razor and cut the felt in a straight line along the line you're supposed to cut it. As you can see, that was really not an effective. Why am I leaving this in the video? I don't know. Anyway, so I did score it with the razor, so I was able to actually make a straight cut, but that right there is what we need to start with the replacement part. Now that we've got it to the right length, we need to make it the right width. Okay, just being very methodical here, and don't try to do everything at once. So we know from when we fitted it up that the perforations were just on the far side of the edge of the felt. So I'm just going to grab the dark slide, better option this time, and a sharp razor, which doesn't want to start in the material, and cut this down to the correct size. Once it's cut down to the correct size, It's going to be a hair larger, which is okay. You can always remove material. You cannot always add it back. And why didn't that cut? Anyway, this stuff is very durable. The stuff that I use the suede material that I'm using to replace the felt from the dark slides is really much tougher. If you backed my Kickstarter campaign, by the way, this is the exact same material that went into those pinhole cameras as a light absorbing material. So now that I've got my piece cut, I'm going to hold up the OEM part and make sure that it fits. I'm looking for something that is the same length from left to right on your screen. It is okay if it's a bit thicker because we have a little bit more room to play around with the material when we put it back onto the springy comb in the direction that goes from the top to the bottom of your screen right now. Now the process for this just becomes very simple. We're going to glue this material to itself via the springy comb. So I'm going to grab the Plyo Bond. And again, you want to use Plyo Bond on this because it off-gases quickly. It's not, if you accidentally put too much on and it glues itself to something, you can undo that gluing with some rubbing alcohol. It's not a permanent glue like a Gorilla Glue or a Crazy Glue. And now here you can see, by the way, what I'm doing before I glue it is I'm fitting it up to get a verification that it's going to be the right size and that everything's going to work. So I've got the springy comb in there for alignment. What I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a cotton swab because it's easier to control in this application than is the brush from the Plyo Bond. And I'm going to swab Plyo Bond onto the edge of the felt, okay? Swabbing this onto the felt like that is what I'm going to use to glue the felt to itself. Now, if you remember when we took the original felt off of that comb, you could see that it was wrapped around itself. This is the good and proper way to do this repair. You're going to take the glue, the Plyo Bond, or other rubber cement, it doesn't have to be Plyo Bond, and you're going to apply it to the felt, and then once you are comfortable with the amount of application, you're then going to fold the felt over the comb on one of the sides. So the comb goes to where the glue ends, and then because there is not a whole lot of working space in between those tines and I don't want to damage them, folding it over with a screwdriver and then pressing it into place with my finger. Okay, just very gently making sure it folds over. The glue that is on that felt now will adhere to the felt on the other side. We glue the underside, the inside of that comb shape there, because that way if any glue seeps through the felt, which it's more likely to do on the side where we applied it, it's on the inside of the film holder and it doesn't risk creating a light leak with a different texture or thickness or something like that when by touching the dark slide, which, yes, could happen. If you have a thicker part of your felt because you have glue that seeped through on the side that faces the dark side, yes, you could absolutely create an issue. So what we're going to do here is we're going to repeat the process on the other side, glue it in, and then we're going to fold over. We're going to fold over the felt onto the other springy comb, and what this does is this is the actual good, best way to do this repair because you have created a single piece, which is the way that these were originally constructed, that folds over onto itself. And you'll notice now that if this is just a little bit too wide in the direction that is like diagonal left, diagonal bottom right on your screen, diagonal top left, diagonal bottom right, it's okay. Because of the way we're folding this over, we have a little bit of margin for error in that dimension. But you can see from the side that goes what is now bottom left to top right on your screen, that if it's too thick, it's going to hang over the sides of the comb. And you don't want that because that can impede your ability to reassemble your film holder. So this is what that part is supposed to look like. You can see there's the old felt. You can probably actually see the holes, the pinholes in it. And now here is the new felt part. And we just have to slide it into the opening right there. You can take this whole plastic piece apart if you want to. With the Liscos, you do not have to fully disassemble that plastic piece, but you can, which I did here so you can see what it looks like. So next what we're going to do is just fit it up. If, in this case, you can see here, I left a little bit too much material on the sides of the springy comb. Just grab it and very carefully take off just a little tiny bit at a time. The reason you want to do that is because, like I said, you can always remove more. You cannot add it back in. So just removed a little bit from the sides there on each side, and then we're going to put it back in. And if you don't have any of the felt overlapping the plastic lip of the Lisco holder, then you know that you've got it trimmed and fitted up correctly. That's what that should look like right there. Now I'm going to grab the other side of the film holder, and we're going to put it, going to orient it the correct way, and then I'm going to snap it into place. This does not actually snap. This was originally glued or heat welded together, and to put this back together, you're going to have to do that again. But before I glue it in, I want to make sure that it's all going to fit back together. And look at that, lo and behold, a little bit of an issue there. So this way, you can take it apart a little bit, and now I'm going to assemble it a different way, which is to say, put the comb onto the top of the film holder, and then put the top plates onto the film holder. So if that works, great. And you can see it working by the seams lining up smoothly, right? Once that's done, and everything is fitted up, and you know it's going to hold in place, you want to get something like some binder clips or thick rubber bands, something that's going to put pressure onto that part of the film holder, and you're going to glue it. You're going to use either a clear Gorilla Glue or a Crazy Glue, because rubber cement is not tough enough for this job, okay? That's why this is a permanent repair for this style of film holder. You glue it up, you let it dry, and now you're going to have a working film holder. But before you glue it, try test running it with holding it down to put the dark slide through, because the worst case scenario is you get this whole thing glued back up and you go to put the dark slide through and there's something jammed in there and the dark slide won't go. So it's very important at every stage when you start reassembling these plastic holders to make sure that the things fit back together the way they originally did and that they line up well. One tip you can do that I didn't do here, but if you wanted to put, say, a mark between on the plastic holder, say where my index finger on the right side of the screen was, that goes from that part we removed down to the part we didn't, so you know which pieces line up. That's a good idea, and that will help you ensure that your parts line up. Now just glue the top back together with a seam of glue around the outside, clip it together or rubber band it together, and you will have repaired your sheet film holder.